So, you want to play your PS1 games on the go. Or maybe there's those Game Boy Advance titles that you never got to try. Or maybe you'd love to spend time playing a Dreamcast game instead of doom scrolling on the bus when you're coming home from school or work. Whatever your level of interest is, the point of this video is to explain everything you could ever want to know about emulating games and how I play games on the go.
Ink ribbon.
Okay, you have no attention span, same, so I'm going to get to the point. The three main terms that you're going to need to know are emulator, BIOS, and ROMs. Now, what an emulator is just a fake console that will actually run the game. So that's like a PS2 or, a PS1 or a Game Boy Advance. And they go by various names. There's a whole bunch of them. The thing is, though, you can't run those without something called a BIOS. And those are one of the things that you got to search the internet for and find, because that's what makes an emulator not legal if it comes with the BIOS. And basically what a BIOS is whenever a console starts up, it reads information that says what region it's in, if it's legit, what's the hardware specs, all the information that the console knows before it starts the game. That's BIOS. The good thing is BIOSes are pretty easy to find if you know how to Google things. I have to be careful with what I say because some stuff is legal, some stuff is not, and some stuff is a gray area, but find the BIOS on your own. Google is your friend with that. And the last one and the biggest one is ROMs, and these are the actual files of your games. Now, typically you want to do backups of games, and in my opinion this could be games that you currently own or games that you previously owned, but I don't know what the law says about that. But yeah, an emulator plays the games as the console. The BIOS is the information the emulator needs to make sure that everything's working properly and what region you're in and all that stuff. And then the ROM is the actual game that's going to run. Emulators are kind of finicky. Sometimes every game works just fine, and then there'll be one game that just doesn't work at all. And you'll figure out when you're trying to run certain games which ones work and which ones don't. And there are some games that just don't emulate well, and there's nothing you can do about it. It is always better to play on the actual hardware, but let's be honest, it's not easy to do, which is why I'm making this video, because I want you to be able to enjoy games that are no longer being preserved or cared about by the companies that made them, which really breaks my heart, because there's a lot of games that are becoming lost media where literally like no one can find these games anymore, so it's up to us to keep them alive. Now, before the purists attack me, I understand how you feel like it should be played on the actual game from the disc or the cartridge and you should buy it and blah blah blah. I understand that. I hear you. That's how I would love for it to be, for not just me but for everyone. But I recently went to a retro gaming convention, and here's some of the prices that I saw. Silent Hill Shattered Memories on PS2, or Pokemon White, which is just highway robbery. Games should not cost this much. This used to be a nerdy hobby, and it's become a really shady business practice. I don't have to tell you about scalping and all that other stuff, so we're not going to get into all that because that's kind of what led to emulators growing in the first place. Simply put, just not everyone has the opportunity to play games in their original form. And I personally believe that if a company is not going to find a way to have a legal option, affordable option for people to play games, then it's fair game. So, contrary to popular belief, emulation is legal, technically, but ROMs are not, unless they're backups of games you already own, which is why I said you should back up your own games, and yeah. So, you're like, okay, that's great. Where can I play an emulator? How does this work? You've got different options. Probably the most common one is just playing on your PC, and that's the easiest one. You can find free, widespread emulators across the internet, as well as game backups, aka ROMs. And that's usually what I do, but there's also playing on your phone, which I was actually, I went to karaoke on Wednesday, and one of my friends he was playing Mortal Kombat Armageddon. No, he Unchained, the PSP version. And I got to play a little bit of it because I don't like to emulate on phones. I hate touchscreen buttons. It makes me crazy. Like, if you're cool with it, that's great. I'm happy for you, but I need physical buttons. But that is an option. There's tons of emulators on Android and probably iPhone. I don't know. I'm an Android guy. So if that's your only option, you can do that. I don't know how to help you set that up though. Which, by the way, there's any emulator you want to set up on any device, there's probably a YouTube tutorial for that. I'm not here for that. I'm here to just explain the basics if you're new. If you're watching this still and you're someone who knows how emulators work, I don't know why you're still here, but thank you. Hi, I see you. Now, the next option is one of my favorites, modified game consoles. I play this every night. This is my Vita. So you see I've got a Game Boy Advance emulator that was just running. I was playing Persona 4 Dancing all night, and then I was also playing Unmetal, which is a hilarious parody game of Metal Gear Solid. But see here, I've got, there's a lot of stuff on here that's not supposed to be here. PKG, or PKJG, no, PKGJ. Google it. If you want to get a Vita and you're like, what's that? But I can't say it on camera. And then Adrenaline, this
can refer to a few different things, depending on the context.
Okay, Google. I don't know. I'm an Android guy. This one up here, Adrenaline, is actually a PSP. So I'll show you. So check this out. So I go here. Sorry, it's dirty. Sometimes I sleep literally on top of my Vita. But check this out. If you ever had a PSP back in the day, you know what this is. So now I've just turned my Vita into not only a PSP, but a PS1 as well. So there you go. I got a mix of, so there's Jet Moto, and then there's Harvest Moon, Crazy Taxi. So you see, it's a mix of PS1 and PSP games. And I mean, I have probably thousands of games on this thing. I also have a modded DS. And when it comes to playing DS, or like Wii or any of that, I say play it on the original system. Whether it's modified or not, it's just one of those things that the hardware really makes a difference. But you can play like any of these on other stuff. Also, with modified consoles, sometimes the screen size isn't right. So if you're playing a PSP game that's supposed to be in landscape, it's going to get squished and look weird. I also have a Game Boy that has an EverDrive, so there's a little micro SD card here. I chose the ugliest color to go with my Vaporwave Game Boy. Although, to be fair, it was meant for this one, which is just a regular Game Boy, and that green looks a lot cooler with the purple. But anyway, then we come to our next option, which is handheld emulators. These are handhelds specifically designed for emulation, and these are probably my favorite option because everything's included. All the ROMs, the emulators, everything that you could want is already on it. This was my first one. This is the Retroid Pocket 2? No. Yeah, this is the Retroid Pocket 2. And, I mean, I was playing even RPG Maker games on this thing. Like, this was my first one, and I love it so much. It also, some of them run on Android, so I was able to, like, watch YouTube or, like, do other stuff on it, which was a nice quality of life feature. But more recently, I acquired 3 that I'd like to show you today, and we're going into the sponsor segment. But I'm legitimately a fan of these, So first is the Miu Mini. This one I actually bought with my own money. They wanted me to review it, but I was like, I already own it. Thank you. But this one is it's so small, you can literally put this in your pocket, and this goes all the way to PS1 games. So you've got NES, SNES, Game Boy Advance, PlayStation 1, which some of the games, like I remember this one does run PS1, but when I played Vigil on E8, it really chugged, which is why I don't use it anymore. And then we also have the new RG35 Flip, we'll just call it that. But it's basically the form factor of an SP. But this not only goes all the way to PS1, it actually also does Dreamcast. So just to show you, when I boot it up, I'm greeted with this screen, and I can, go over here. So here's all the different console selections. It does have PSP, but there you see, so Dreamcast, PlayStation. You've got all the arcades. You've even got the Poke Mini thing, Pico 8, which is a fantasy console. That's a whole nerdy thing. Game & Watch. I mean, it's crazy. Like, all the Sega consoles. I was able to play most of Snatcher. I haven't finished it yet. But, for example, let's go to Dreamcast. You see there? We're booting up Code Veronica. Another cool thing about emulators is save state. So I can just go in here and load state, and it throws me right back into the game where I was. And I mean, there you go. I'm playing Code Veronica. It works. Sorry, it's blurry, but... So that's another really cool thing about emulation in general, not just on these, but on anything, is save state. So if you're playing like a really hard game, instead of having to continue from a checkpoint or lose all your lives and start the whole level over again or whatever, you can literally just save state anywhere, and if you die or you lose or you do something wrong, you just reload that save state and it takes you right back to where you were, which is really good when you're trying to play games that are really difficult, or, you know, maybe don't have the best game design and you just don't want to deal with like having to do stuff over and over and over again. It's a real quality of life thing. And now we're going to move on to this last one. This big boy. This big boy just goes by Brick, but it is the Abernic RG406V. They all have weird names. Like, that's why I like Retroid. Like Retroid Pocket, Miu Mini. Give them names that we can actually pronounce. So you see this one is Android powered, but when I boot it up here, you can see I've got, you know, all these other games, and you see right there PS2. So check this out, you guys. So you got God of War, Devil May Cry, got Resident Evil 4, Silent Hill 4. It's pretty awesome to be able to play all these games like on the go. Like I was playing Kingdom Hearts the other day, just testing it out. So here we are, playing Resident Evil 4. And I know this looks weird to have it in this form factor, but wow. It works. And it plays great. So to be able to have this on the go, or like, especially if you've got kids or you need your private time to play, they're a godsend. And not just the ROMs that they come with, you can put your own ROMs on here if there's games that are not included that you want to play. And if I want to add a game to this, literally, I just pop out this little micro SD card, put it in my computer, put games in the right folder, pop it back in. That's it. It is that easy to add games or remove games if there's ones that you really don't want on there. And as of making this video, okay, sponsored, sorry. These are all from 2retro.com. You can get them other places, but I can give you a 10% off code if you use code InkRibbon when you check out. And as of recording this video, I think they're also having a Black Friday sale. Let me check. Yeah, so right now they're having a Black Friday sale as of making this video right now. And if you want one of these for like you or for a relative or for the holidays or whatever, they make an amazing Christmas gift for any gamer. And yeah, so that's anything on the website. You don't have to do any of these. Now, some of you may be struggling and you're like, I don't know which one to get. Like, do I want this one or do I want that one? After owning all of these, I can tell you, you will never have the best one. You'll never have the newest one because they're always coming out with new ones. So think about the games that you really, really want to play. Anything like this that's going to play PS2 or the more beefy like game consoles, they're going to be more expensive. Whereas something like this or the Miu Mini are a lot more affordable. I think when I bought the Miu Mini, it was like $45. This one I think was like 70 or 80. And this one's like over 200. And just for full disclosure, I was actually going to buy this with my own money. I was literally gearing up for it, and then they reached out and they're like, hey, do you want to do a sponsorship? And I was like, yes. So one of the perks of the job, although I never have time to play any of these. If you're an adult, you understand, which is why these are so awesome. Now, just to give you guys a little bit of like insight, the reason a lot of YouTubers, when they do these videos, that they won't say emulation or ROM or whatever is because legally they can get in trouble because it falls under piracy, but not really. I reached out to my management and I asked them, can I say these words? And they were like, yes, but you can't say this and that. I was like, okay, cool. So I just want to be able to like speak freely without being censored. And again, these are specifically for game preservation. That's how I see this, because a lot of these games you can't get anymore. So you guys can agree with me or disagree in the comments. I believe that if I owned a game at any point in time, I am allowed to have a ROM backup of it as an emulator to play or whatever, because, you know, I did own it. We can't own anything anymore. When it comes to you getting these on your own, again, there are certain things that I can and can't say, but if you Google any of these words on screen in combination with the game you're looking for, you will probably have some good luck. I cannot recommend any sites. I cannot give any links because that's a big no-no. So you're on your own there, but you can do it. I believe in you. And again, if you'd rather go more mainstream, modded consoles are awesome. They're expensive, but like something like the DS, I think is really worth it, because it's one of those things you have to have the system to get the full experience, you know? So there you go. I hope that helped all of you who might be kind of wondering about emulators and you're like, I don't know who to ask or whatever. That's all the information to get you started. And I really hope that this leads to some of you playing games that you were never able to play because you couldn't afford them or you couldn't find them or whatever, because games are awesome. Games are like the ultimate art medium, and everyone should be able to enjoy them regardless of whether they're available right now or not. But I'm going to stop talking before I get into legal trouble, and I'm going to end this video here. Thanks again to 2 Retro for sponsoring this video, and again, if you want to head to their website and pick up any of these awesome emulators for yourself, you can get your 10% off code. And yeah, happy emulating, pet your pets, drink some water, and until next time, I'm Kai Morgan, and as always, thanks for watching Ink Ribbon.
On a laser beam, games that blew our minds, a world so vast.